Hi everybody. So I've gotten a couple of requests to show you or make a tutorial for how I pick up and knit my sleeves 2 at a time magic loop. And this is a top-down sweater as well. So I've set it up. I've just finished the body and my sleeves had been held on waste yarn. So my setup is a couple of things. Ignore this needle to start with, but I have one stitch marker which is halfway through my bound off underarm stitches that I'm going to pick up. I removed my waste yarn from the stitches it was holding and I put half of them on one double pointed needle of the same size that I'm going to be knitting the sleeves in and the other half on the other, and I've done that on both sleeves. And I've done the same thing here. I've marked the midway point of the underarm for this sleeve. Now I always do this with the front folded. So this is the front of the sweater. The back is back here. I'm going to fold it in half and I'm pretty much going to work with the material folded in half the whole way around as I knit the sleeves all the way down to the cuff actually. You can even do Fair Isle knitting this way, but it gets to be a lot of balls. The last thing I like to do is put a clippy stitch marker on the size I'm starting with. So it's sort of your beginning of round. You know where you've started. I'm assuming you know magic loop. You need 2 balls of yarn, one for each of your sleeves. So I've started with, as if I were just gonna knit one sleeve, I've picked up starting in the middle of the underarm of the sleeve. In this case, it's the right sleeve. For me, I always do the right sleeve first. And then I'm gonna just knit the stitches right off of that first needle. Oops. So this particular pattern for me, I had 28 stitches held on the waste yarn and then 14 bound, cast on for the underarm, or bound off, I should say, and then cast on. So I'm knitting half of them, and my double pointed needles are just to help me hold the stitches. So I'm not going to use them once I've knit off of them. So I've knit the back of the first sleeve. I'm going to pull my long needle. You need your longest cable needle. This one is a 60-inch. And it's definitely best to start with that. Then I'm going to open up my work and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to knit from the inside edge, and I'm going to use my second ball of yarn, and I'm going to pick up my stitches. This can take me a couple of minutes because my bind off I did a cabled cast on to put these back on the needle, and they're a little snug. So hopefully I can get them through quickly. So I'm going to pick up, I see where my stitch marker is. That's my first one. And really, to me, this doesn't have to be perfection because it's basically your armpit. Oh. See, the yarn I'm also using is not very slippery. It's it's a non-superwash, and it's very sticky. But I'm doing Stash Down 2020, and so I really wanted to knit this and use up this really cool yarn that I've had for some time. So that's my 4th stitch. I have 2 more, and this may leave, as often happens when you do your sleeves, it may leave a hole in the armpit that you need to pick up later or just close up later, and personally I'm okay with that. You can always add another stitch and then reduce. So again, I'm going to knit then. I got my 2, 4, 6. I need 1 more, which I'm just going to put in here because I know I'm going to need to close up that hole anyway. Now I'm going to knit straight from my needle, my double pointed needle, and I've got 14 stitches here. I'm doing this, I find it much easier to do this when I'm sitting at a table, so I don't have to hold my work and I can really focus my hands on getting those stitches in the right places. Okay, great. So I don't need this double point anymore. Now what I'm gonna do is I've knit half of the second sleeve. I'm going to pull my cord most of the way through and turn my work. I need to make sure I'm still using that same ball of yarn. I don't want to switch balls. And I'm gonna knit now down the other side of that same second sleeve. We're leaving the first sleeve for now. So I need to knit my second set of stitches, and I'm leaving my cord quite long through it, and this is going to make this loop so that I'm knitting this in the circle. So I have my 14 stitches coming right off of my third double pointed needle, and you can see I knit continental, but I throw. That's just an old habit, dies hard. And then I'm going again pick up, third needle's gone, and I'm gonna go in and pick up, that's the tail end of my stitches, and then I should have 7 bumps here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, nope. So I'm gonna put one in this wonky hole space. 1, and I use my Lika needles pretty much exclusively. I have a Lika interchangeable set. So again, I don't really focus on perfection with my pickups because it's the armpit and really nobody's checking under there. So I've got 5, I need 2 more stitches. And that's based on your pattern directions. The pattern will tell you how many stitches to pick up. It's usually around the amount that you bound off, or actually just around the amount that you cast on, I should say, when you resumed the body. So when I did the body, I put some stitches on. I put the sleeve stitches on waste yarn, and then I added 14 stitches. Okay, so that's my second sleeve. You can see the second sleeve is now in the magic loop. I pull my cord through, and I'm gonna do the exact same thing, making sure I'm using my the correct ball of yarn, and go back to that first sleeve. So I wanna make sure the other end of my needle doesn't pull all the way through, tuck my tail in, and I'm gonna start knitting right around from the top of that sleeve, kind of over the outer edge. I've got my stitches on my cable, my double pointed needle. Again, I don't really use double pointed needles for much, but I find them really useful tools when it comes to doing this. I use them for super small circumference knitting, but otherwise they're not my fave. Okay, and then the last part of this is I'm going to pick up my stitches under the armpit. Again, I'm just checking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I think I can see them all this time. So I need to put 7 stitches on here. That's 1. Big thank you to my daughter who's helping me film this. This is my second sweater actually, doing this because the first just was a fail. That's my third stitch. I can see I didn't catch the yarn right. So that's 4. 5. I see I have like a hair. Okay. 6 and one more. Once I figured out that this was doable, I've never knit sleeves one at a time, unless for some reason I'm using really bulky yarn. Okay, so here's what it looks like. I'm gonna basically keep it folded, and I keep knitting it folded. So I have my cord sticking through here. My sleeves line up almost more or less together. Here's the cord. Oh, this cord. And then I'm just gonna start, as I would with Magic Loop, I'm just gonna pull my cord through and I can start knitting around. I could actually get rid of these stitch markers because for me they'd be in the way. I only need the one that's left. It's really, I don't need it to mark the bottom of my work anymore or the midway point. And I'll just do one round. So you're gonna come just like you would be doing 2 at a time socks. You're gonna the key is making sure you work from the ball of yarn that's already connected. And you're just gonna work down that way. So it's a little finicky when you're getting started. As your sleeves get longer, it gets a little bit easier. Good luck. Let me know if you have any questions.